In today's tale, we turn to the head seat of Cyrodiil's northwestern presence, the province of Coral. Lying somberly in a state of distraught, the Countess is deeply troubled by an act of theft. The hero of today's story ends up finding themselves caught up in the middle of an investigation. Their services are employed by the Countess herself, and the search for a missing item of sentimental value begins. Today's accord sees the hero searching and questioning several suspects to see who's guilty. The ballad is based around the quest titled Canvass the Castle. The adventure begins by the hero finding themselves in the city of Coral. Moreover, they're visiting Castle Coral, where the prestigious and beloved Countess Ariana Valga and her staff of nobility can be found. The reason for visitation is unknown, perhaps regarding another matter entirely, but the result of the meeting ends in a brand new task. The conversation sounds like this.
It's a pleasure to meet you. I am Countess Valga of Coral. I wish I had time to chat, but I'm afraid I'm in the middle of an investigation. You seem the trusting type. Perhaps you can assist me. It seems someone has taken away an heirloom that is quite dear to me. I want you to help me recover a stolen painting. The painting was of my lost love, the Count Valga, and it has been stolen from my bedchamber. If you find the painting and bring the culprit to justice, you shall be justly rewarded. What say you? Very well. I suggest you begin to gather clues. And I warn you, do not accuse the wrong person, or I shall be quite cross with you. Here are some keys. They should allow you access to many of the restricted areas in Castle Coral. Your best bet is to speak to residents of the castle. Once you have found out all you can, search for physical clues. Chanel and Orgnolf both reside in the private quarters section. They have been restricted to remain indoors, so they should be easy to find. You may also want to speak to Bitneld, the captain of the guard. He can be found on patrol in Coral or in the barracks. Finally, I would try speaking to Orak Grogoth, who is my steward. He resides in the private quarters section as well. If he isn't in the castle, he may be at the Northern Goods and Trade, buying food to stock our larder. I was elsewhere at the time of the robbery, and the chamber was locked. The only other people who have had access to the chamber and were unaccounted for are the court mage, Chanel, and the porter, Orgnolf. Don't forget to check with Bitneld, the captain of the guard, my steward, Orak Grogoth, and my herald, Laith Wavrick. The painting is all I have left that reminds me of the Count. I spend many a lonely night wishing that the words I speak to it will be heard and not just fall upon the lifeless pigments and canvas.
The Countess has entrusted the hero with a very sentimental task. A portrait of her late husband, Count Valga, has gone missing from her possession, and no one is coming forward with information. She has asked the hero to gather clues, evidence, confessions, simply anything that can help not only bring the thief to justice, but also have the portrait of her beloved husband returned. Through a sense of honor and duty to the great city and its ruler, or perhaps just for a reward, the hero accepts the quest at hand. The hero has 5 different persons of interest whom they would go on to look into. The first person they went to was Laith Wavrick, the Herald of Coral. When questioned about it, he had this to say.
Hello, I'm Laith Wavrick, the Chief Herald and Countess Valga's attendant. Welcome to Coral. My duties rely on watching no more than the throne and attending to visitors. But confidentially, I will say that Orgnolf has been acting a bit unusual. His abuse of drink has gotten worse lately. He has taken to asking for money from others to purchase spirits. A porter's wage does not befit his habit.
The second person was Orak Grogoth, the steward of Coral. When asked about the issue, he had this to say.
Go ahead, please. I don't trust you enough to reveal details about the castle to you. Go ahead. Thank you. How kind. I don't remember seeing Channel or Orgnolf that entire evening. But then again, I stayed in my quarters most of the night. There was no point in going on my usual walk with all of the rain falling. As far as Channel and Orgnolf go, they seem fine to me. I only had a minor scrape with Orgnolf recently. I caught him drinking in the West Tower on the upper level. I told him if he didn't stop, I would tell the Countess. He just grumbled and agreed. He hasn't bothered me since.
The third person was Bitneld the Cursebringer, the captain of Coral's Guard. He had this to say about the whole situation.
I'm Bitneld, the Cursebringer, captain of the Coral Guard. What can I do for you? I'm sorry, I wasn't in that evening. I was making my rounds of Coral. The only odd occurrence lately was with Channel. I have seen her spending a lot of time in the West Tower. When I asked her about it, she said it involved her spell research. I suppose at the time it sounded good enough for me.
While all three persons are not absolved of anything just yet, the hero does note that all of their answers involve the final two suspects, Orgnolf Hairylegs, the castle porter, and Channel, the court mage. According to the sources, Hairylegs has a drinking problem and is not above engaging in shady activities to counteract his gold shortages. Channel, on the other hand, was spotted the same night in the West Tower where she didn't really have any business being. However, her reasoning for being there did seemingly check out. The player thinks to themselves that now is the time to delve into the last two persons of interest. The hero began by finding Orgnolf Hairylegs. Hairylegs was easy to find as he had a simple route through the castle. Questioning Hairylegs went something like this.
So, you a living statue, or are you gonna say something? Who do you think you are questioning me? I'd just as soon ask a goblin maiden to a dance than to answer your stupid questions. Oh, it's Valga's errand boy. How goes the big, important investigation? Aye, it was a fine portrait of a fine man. So, the Countess hired you to find the painting, eh? Well, you'll not find it by gawking at me. The night of the theft, I was in the Great Hall, having an argument with a delivery boy from Braville. It seems his horse lost its footing in the heavy rain we had that night, and the shipment of port that it was carrying slipped to the ground. Oh, the fall broke most of the bottles. He didn't want to claim responsibility, but I gave him what for and sent him away. After that, I spent the rest of the night in my quarters, reading.
Detailing Hairylegs' response, the hero then decided to seek out the final person of interest, Channel. She too could easily be found wandering the castle. Talking to Channel went like this.
Hello, are you searching for something? The stolen painting was of Count Valga. Whoever painted it could not do the man justice. He was kind and noble, which is difficult to convey on canvas. I'm afraid other than that, I cannot offer much more information. Yes, I have heard that the painting of the Count was taken. I was unaware she hired an outsider to conduct the investigation. May luck be with you. I am sorry. I don't really feel comfortable talking with you about that night. I barely know you. The night that the painting was stolen, I was in the courtyard of the castle taking star readings. After a while, I decided to go into the dining area just off the Great Hall. I poured myself some wine and studied the charts I had made until it was time to sleep. From there, I went directly to my chamber and slept the rest of the night.
Alas, all 5 persons of interest have been spoken to. Nothing concrete could be confirmed yet, but there are definitely points of dispute with both stories told by Orgnulf and Channel. Orgnulf seemingly had a rather unique transaction with a delivery boy, apparently resulting in him paying less for wine bottles that were supposedly broken during the trip. Channel, on the other hand, claimed to be reading stars, but according to all accounts, it was raining heavily that night. Suspicions raised for both parties, the hero now turns to the tangible to try and nail down a confirmed perpetrator. Walking along the suspected route of Orgnulf, nothing is particularly out of the ordinary for where he would have been that night. He claimed to have been in the Great Hall and then in his quarters for the rest of the evening. Searching around both yields no telling results of a stolen portrait. Retracing Channel's steps from the other night, the hero begins in the dining room. While there and searching around, the hero noticed paint stains dried into the carpet. While this isn't totally indicative of anything yet, it did seem rather odd. Heading into Channel's room, they continue to search for anything out of the ordinary. Oddly enough, looking by her lectern and chairs, there are some recently used painting tools still out. The hero begins to make some assumptions, but there's no evidence yet of any painting, so the investigation must continue. Heading to the West Tower, the hero remembers that Auroch and Bitnold both mention Orgnulf and Channel have been spotted lingering around there. In the upper area of the tower, the hero walks in on Orgnulf's hidden drinking den. It certainly is a spot hidden from prying eyes and does not look good on Orgnulf's behalf, yet there is nothing there that ties him to a crime of portrait theft. Heading down to the lower areas, by sifting through each room, the hero finally lays eyes on some further incriminating evidence. A freshly painted picture is found. Finally being able to connect the dots, the hero is ready to confront the villain. Orgnulf's evidence against him is very minor. He's a drunk with money problems, and the argument he claimed to have with a delivery boy wasn't witnessed by anyone on the night of the theft. He also has a hidden drinking den in the West Tower, but that's about it. Channel, on the other hand, has a lot of evidence against her. She claimed to be star reading the night of the theft, yet it was pouring rain, so the stars would not be visible. There are footprints of paint located in the dining room, which is where she said she spent time at. There were freshly used paint supplies in her personal quarters, and a brand new painting with a fancy frame was found in the West Tower, where she also claimed to be the night of the theft. The hero seeks out Channel and begins to make an accusation.
Hello again. I hope your search for the painting goes well. Are you accusing me of taking the painting? Very well. I confess to the crime, but please understand, I only did it out of the great love I had in my heart for Count Volga. It was I that painted that portrait. When the Count was lost, the Countess spent so much time with it that I became jealous. I had to have the painting back, so I decided to steal it, then hide it behind the painting in my quarters. I'm ashamed of my crime, but ready to face what fate has in store for me. I am ashamed that I took the painting, but my love for the Count was greater than you could imagine. You have your criminal. Congratulations. I was careless to leave my art supplies around the castle like I did. I suppose I was easy to discover. We've already been through this, and I admitted my guilt.
Channel has confessed to her thievery, and the culprit has ultimately been found. In an act of justice and duty, the hero swiftly returns to the Countess and delivers the news on the whereabouts of the painting and who took it.
Greeting. Oh, you have returned from your investigation, and I'm eager to hear the results. Whom did you accuse? I'm shocked to hear of Chanel's crime, as she has always been such a nice member of our court. But I see that your evidence is without question. She shall be banished from Castle Coral and stripped of her duties. However, I am not without pity, and therefore she shall not be jailed. But she is never to set foot in Coral again. Congratulations on a job well done. As a reward, please accept this bounty of gold and gems. You've earned it.
The hero has completed their quest of returning a sentimental item to its rightful owner. The Countess has broken free of her slump and can continue to rule with a clear mind. Channel has been banished from the city of Coral and is never seen again. The reward has been given out, and thus, the tale of Canvas the Castle ends here. Canvas the Castle is another amazing quest that focuses more on speechcraft and radiant AI for NPCs as opposed to combat and exploration. There are hardly any quest markers for the player to follow, and most of the journal entries leave the player to guess what comes next, particularly for the points of searching for clues. Undergoing detective work and clue finding is a trope that some players may not like as much, but personally, they are some of my favorite mechanics for the in-game quests. Canvas the Castle was likely made similar to the quest Paranoia, where the player is meant to admire and learn more about the Radiant AI, but perhaps less so for spying on the NPCs and more so engaging in conversations with them. It was also a refreshing and unique experience to be able to freely wander around the castle halls and rooms. Almost every other city's castle is locked up tight and is restricted for the player to go into. There are some unique and different outcomes that can happen during this quest. For starters, the player can interrogate and then choose to accuse Orgnolf Hairylegs. Orgnolf becomes very insulted at the idea of the player accusing them, however, and there are repercussions to doing it. In fact, the player can accuse both Channel and Orgnolf before turning the information over to the Countess. It is here the Countess will express her discontent with Orgnolf being accused without valid evidence, and the reward will be lessened. Alternatively as well, after hearing Channel's confession and then returning back to the Countess, the player can lie to her and say no one from the court stole the painting. The Countess will express her guilt for assuming someone from her close circle stole it and fall into a deeper state of sadness. An even smaller reward will be handed out to the player, but an interesting interaction will occur with Channel. Upon returning to Channel and lying to the Countess, she is overjoyed that she not only got to remain anonymous, but she also has the honor of keeping the painting of the Count. She expresses extreme gratitude towards the player and says she will have a special painting ready for the player in 3 weeks. Returning back to Channel in 3 weeks' time, the painting is handed over and it can either be displayed in the player's home by simply removing it from their inventory, or it can be sold for 500 gold. However, it does seem like the best reward comes from turning Channel into the Countess and not accusing Orgnolf. As 1 fame point is added, a leveled amount of gold is handed over, which could be 700 if the player is level 25 plus, and an additional 8 gems are also given to the player. Overall, Canvas the Castle is a fun quest that gives the player a nice break from adventuring far and wide, and engaging in combat with foes of different kinds. Instead, it sees the player gathering clues, using their perception, speechcraft, and problem-solving skills in order to help out a concerned and distraught Countess.